Welcome to episode 142 of The Endless Stream. I'm Aidan, and this week the episode features Brian and Kevin, two artists, illustrators, filmmakers, and all-round shit-talkers. And each week they take some of the endless stream of content brought to you through Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Spotify, Amazon Prime. Wherever you get your content, we take a chunk of it, we watch it, and we talk about it. This week we're talking about the new trailer for Netflix's adaptation of Avatar. We're talking about Reliance, the new Andy Samberg, Jake Johnson film, and we are talking about the 1960 film Experiment in Terror, which got brought up last week because Brian was listening to Henry Mancini's scores. And it is a creepy 1960s noir, and we really recommend that you check it out. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast, heading over to Spotify, heading over to iTunes, liking, subscribing, rating, reviewing. All of those good things really help us out. On top of that, we are on Instagram at The Endless Cast, where we put up art and clips to go with each episode, and that's a great place to reach out, send us a message, suggest something for us to watch, agree or disagree with something we've said on the podcast. Shoot us a message over there. That's a great place to do that. Or you can send us an email at theendlesscast@gmail.com. All of that being said, let's get into the episode.
Do you think they're going to actually find evidence in Ian Bailey's house?
No.
What did he die of?
I think it was suspected heart attack. I don't know if it's been confirmed yet. But I think he'd had a heart attack one or two previously as well. So
So
his health wasn't the best.
Yeah, well.
He was a big drinker.
Big drinker. Big dickhead.
He's
a dickhead. He's a dickhead. Yeah. Fuck him. Whether he did it or not, the world is down an asshole.
It's down one asshole.
May he rest in pish.
Rest in pishes.
Welcome to the Endless Stream.
Welcome to the endless stream of piss.
Poss.
And speculation.
No, I'm not speculating that he's an asshole. He's clearly an asshole.
Undoubtedly.
Undoubtedly an asshole.
It's interesting how, I don't know how quickly these things work. I can imagine you still need a warrant to search someone's property.
Well, they're searching it at the moment, I think.
But that's what I mean. Is like he's dead.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine they would have still needed a warrant, which they got quite speedily. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I wonder then, is there something they heard that might have some clues? They're like, we got to go in there and see that thing, or they're just like, let's just get his shit and comb through it as a formality, Or is there something that they're even 1% hopeful might have a new piece of information about whether he did it or not?
Well, you see, this is the thing I was going to say to you. I don't know if I was reading it or you had sent it to us, I found it. On Reddit, somebody had talked about this case, and then people from West Cork were responding to it. And they were saying how it's common knowledge. Again, this is just hearsay. This is rumors. It's sheer speculation. It's from the internet.
People down there would have to know.
People down there would have to know. But I'm just saying in terms, I'm not saying it's fact.
Yes, of course.
You know what I mean? I just say what I've read. Allegedly, it's common knowledge down there that it was a guard or something, and that it was just a big Gardaí cover-up. And all that jazz. Wasn't that it?
That is one theory I've heard.
Yeah.
But I've also it's like, there's no secrets in small towns and small communities.
There's not really.
So people there have to know what's happened. And I've seen people speculate that, the guards bungled it so thoroughly that they must have been protecting someone. But I've also seen people claiming to be from West Cork saying that as well. So I don't know. But apparently there was a case going on, around the same time up in Donegal, possibly, that the guards did interfere with and had been responsible for. Did you hear about that one?
No. Is this at the same time as at the Sophia?
At the same time, apparently.
Okay. Yeah, well, I know.
I kind of had.
There was a few women got missing up in Northern Ireland at that stage. There was a documentary recently, I think on it, but I'm not too sure.
Let me see if I can find it quickly.
Yes. The West Cork, if people don't know, there was a murder in West Cork in the 80s, Brian, is it? 80s, late 90s? Or early 90s, sorry?
90s, yeah.
90s, sorry. 90s. Sophia de Pontier?
Tuscan de Plantier.
yes, Brian is the one. He's from West Cork, he's from Cork, so he can pronounce all these Cork names.
She was French.
Shut up, Brian. Yeah, so she was sadly murdered, and the case was never solved. There's a fantastic podcast on Audible, called West Cork. I recommend it. That podcast was nuts. Obviously, there was loads of things that were terribly foolish, like police putting so much effort into that one guy smoking hash or weed or something with Ian Bailey, and then the bored housewife that absolutely derailed the investigation for ages as well.
Yeah,
Mad characters.
She made claims that she was like had an alibi for the. She claimed to have seen him at night coming from the location where the thing happened.
Yeah.
And then she said that she was with someone
Yeah.
who could verify where she was. And in court, she refused to give the name of the person.
Because she was a married man and she was a married woman and he was a married man.
But like,
Something like that.
but even like being compelled by the judge, like that's interfering in an investigation at that stage.
I know, yeah, for sure. Didn't she? Then she gave him a name. Yep.
In court, though, she refused at the time.
Maybe in court, she refused, but she did give them a name eventually. But go on, sorry.
No, it's just wild that there's
because they gave her a name. I'm sure that they found it was like linked to some factory worker that had passed away in Manchester or something. It was completely another like.
It's a bizarre case.
Yeah, she completely another misled them.
So many mistakes.
Yeah, and Gareth had to put restraining orders against her basically and stuff. It's a wild case for people that don't know it. Ooh, baby, it's a wild case.
I can't find this. I don't remember enough about it.
That's all right.
But yeah, supposedly the stuff going on, because people were saying that it was very far fetched that there's a Gardaí cover up in the West Cork case, when literally the same, or not the same thing, but that exact thing, as in interference and the cover up was happening up north. So people were saying that's so far fetched. It's like it literally happened at the same time in a different part of the country.
Yeah,
and there's plenty of other stuff with the guards fucking forcing confessions out of people and things.
Yeah,
so
like
it's not surprising.
Yeah, it's not surprising. Like, and to be honest, at the time, say, okay, like people might say it's far fetched and stuff. It doesn't have to be some some big mad conspiracy. It's just like it's a bunch of guards bumbling around, either trying to cover up, say protecting a guard, or just covering up their own fucking mistakes and lack of procedure or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like an amount of kind of meddling, but God only knows.
Yeah. Do you think they'll find anything? What are your thoughts on them?
They'll probably.
Is it just a formality, or?
I think they're going to find a typed letter confessing to it.
Right. That would be meaningless, though.
Yeah, a typed letter, an email, an open draft.
Especially coming from him, though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. God only knows. Yeah, no. Yeah, God only knows.
Podge sent me a comment from the Reddit thing about them going and seizing his stuff, and they said, the only thing about that is that now they have to actually read all his terrible poetry.
Oh yeah, hilarious, brilliant. Oh God, he's such a fucking clown. Good riddance to him.
Good riddance.
Yeah, which is terrible to speak ill of the dead, but he was a gentleman that offered nothing but misery and negativity. But on a lighter note, Brian, I watched it the other day. I figured you might be excited about it, and I wanted to hear your opinion. I'm not aware of this thing. I've watched only very little bits and pieces, but you mostly. But Avatar: The Last Airbender trailer came out this week, and in my humble opinion, as someone who's not aware of the original material and stuff, it looks fucking awesome. It looks fucking awesome.
It looks great.
It looks great. The casting looks great.
Yeah, it looks like a very faithful adaptation.
Very faithful.
The cartoon.
Yeah.
I think when I watched the show and you kind of realize how strongly it's plotted and well written, I could imagine it being a more grown up, not grounded, just I could see them doing it with the same kind of level of complexity as like a Game of Thrones or something. And this looks like they've made a live action cartoon. And that's not necessarily a criticism, just an observation.
I know what you're saying.
I,
It's like
I could see them doing a more, not even serious, but just a lot of people won't watch the cartoon because it's a kid's cartoon, even though it's got some of the best writing on TV in the last 20 years. It's
Yeah.
a fantastically written show. A lot of people would dismiss it for that reason. And I think those same people won't watch this because it looks like a live action cartoon. It looks great, but, and then, that's very deliberate. I think they'd prefer to keep the fans, the existing fans, and if they get new ones, they get new ones. But I think they are all about keeping the existing fan base happy, and that's a safe, sensible approach. But looking forward to it because the show is excellent. The cartoon is excellent,
and it actually it looks like one of the best adaptations of anything I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like any property, if that makes sense.
I hope every episode has that same level of polish because
For sure.
we've definitely seen other Netflix shows where it looks great in the trailer and then the full episode looks. The Witcher's coming to mind.
Yeah.
Witcher was a very cheap show.
Oh yeah.
In places it wasn't, but for the most part it was. They'd spent their budget on Cavill.
Yeah.
And that was it.
But that's the thing, isn't it? It's just like kind of even like, that's such a good point. Why am I even letting myself get hyped? Because it's just like, man, because it's just kind of like, what's going to happen? Like they have a great trailer, so we're going to trailer. Season 1 potentially could be great, or else episode 1 could be great. You know what I mean? Like, and then it's just going to dissipate from there. However, saying that,
like they've put all the best effect shots
in the trailer.
Will there be weaker ones in the episode? Which you'll just have to get over.
Yeah. But the trailer looks great. There's no doubt, though.
It looks fantastic. Yeah, it looks
CGI is amazing. Yeah. And
it already looks better than the Shyamalan film, which was truly awful.
Which you know what? I've never watched it. I've never watched that. I've never watched the live action Dragon Ball.
It's quite bad. It's not just bad in the sense that the cartoon is better and it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't live up to the source material. It's just a lot of bad filmmaking generally. Even if it wasn't an adaptation, it's quite weak.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll be interested to see like the initial reporting that story got was the two creators of the show of the cartoon were going to be showrunners of the live action, and then about a year later they left the production, and I wonder why, because the show looks to be quite faithful.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
So I wonder what their reason for leaving was. People always take that as a bad sign for it, but it's like maybe they're assholes. Maybe the creators are assholes in this instance. Who knows?
Well, I think people just love to
Who's to say?
Speculate and these things, and it's just like sometimes it's just not that complicated. It's more straightforward than we think. But Daniel Day Kim, 55 years old.
He's always been hot.
My God,
He's been a very sexy man.
My God.
Since his days as Jin in Lost.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just remembering the first time he got shirtless in Lost, and it's just like, why didn't they do that sooner? Everybody else got their shirts off.
Ridiculous.
Why did they wait so long for Jin to get his shirt off? Crazy.
I suppose
Crazy. Did you watch all of Lost?
I did not. I know you did. I know it's still one of your favorite shows. Were you disheartened by the ending of it or anything? I'm not really aware of the ending, but I know kind of like. Basically, it's what people have speculated, wasn't it? At the very start.
Kind of, but not really.
Okay, fair.
Not quite.
Spoiler alert for Lost. It came out about 20 years ago, but...
we see, one of the things, you see, at the end, I'm spoiling Lost. At the end, they are all dead.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't dead on the island.
Okay.
People speculated that the island was the afterlife and that they died in the crash and the island is the afterlife. And then when it turns out they're dead at the end, people are like, oh, see, we call it. It was like, no, they were alive on the island. It's just we're now seeing them in the afterlife at the end of the show. That doesn't mean the whole 6 seasons prior to that was them dead. They were alive on the island. The island wasn't the afterlife.
So how they...
We do see them in the afterlife in the end,
Uh-huh.
but that's just like the show showing us where they are in the next step. The island was the island. It was a real physical place. They were alive on the island.
So
but
but
people
like...
thought people misunderstood it and thought, oh, because they're dead at the end, they were dead the whole time. It's like, no,
So like
that's not
what?
what happened.
So what was the basic then kind of like conclusion like? So they were like everything was normal. They were normal people, normal lives, nothing weird. They got on a plane and then the plane crashed on a weird island.
Yes.
The island was the weird thing.
Yes.
And then the island had all these like weird smoke things and statues
Yes.
and
They explained it very simply once. And the thing is, the show isn't about this. And it's the same as anything. People get too focused on the metaphor rather than the message of the metaphor.
yeah, okay.
And like one the writer said, years ago that like reading something like The Third Policeman would be a good, how do they put it? Just it was a good way to kind of view the stories they're trying to tell on the island. Have you read The Third Policeman?
I have not, no.
By Flann O'Brien, an Irish writer.
No, I know of it, but I've not read it.
Yeah, fantastic writer, very funny. But he'd write these kind of bizarre concepts,
I have
and
one
then
of
it's
his,
on to the next thing.
I have one of his books. Oh my god, what's it called? Mark Stokes just got it for me recently. Shout out to Mark.
At Swim Two Birds, maybe?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm gonna read it.
Very funny.
Yes.
But yeah, it like there's a lot of bizarre concepts and things introduced in The Third Policeman, and then it just moves on. It's more about the idea of what if. So like one of the ideas in it is there's like a crack in the wall, and if you look into the crack long enough, you can kind of go through the crack and end up in this other place. And while you're in that place, then as well, you can anything you want, you can have, but you can't leave with it, right? And it's more about what does that mean, as opposed to the question shouldn't be how does such a place exist.
Yeah.
It should just be like, what would it mean if you were in such a place? That's kind of what the island was. The point of the island isn't how
It's asking a different question. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's having
So
it's
the
asking
way
a
that
different question.
yeah, the way they explain the island once is that it's sort of like the nexus for all kind of possible things, good and evil. And the island is sort of like a cork in the bottle for keeping all of the bad coming into the world, basically. So it makes it a very special place in terms of the things that can happen there.
And
That's about all you need to know about the island then, and then just people happening to come to it. And it's somebody's job to kind of caretake the island to make sure it keeps existing. So part of why they crash is this person who's been on the island for an untold amount of time wants someone to take his place.
Okay. Who was that person?
Yeah. That was Jacob.
Which is Jacob?
He's a guy that they mentioned first, I think, in season 2. And you're just like, who the fuck is Jacob? And then they don't reveal him until maybe another 2 seasons or 3 seasons, maybe. I'm not sure. And he's just like, people lived on the island since, prehistoric times. And he, through events, became immortal and then has to...
Oh, I remember
protect the
Jacob.
island.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was like the baddie for a long time in it, no? I felt he was like a baddie in it.
No. Is it definitely Jacob you're looking at?
Yeah. But hey, look, he might have been a baddie in something else I watched.
So
He is
he has a brother on the island who becomes the embodiment of evil, for lack of a better word. And that's the Man in Black. That's the smoke monster.
Oh yeah, fictional character Man in Black. Yeah, he's played by
Titus Welliver.
Yes, he's in
Bosch.
Yes.
Deadwood.
Is he Irish? No.
Don't think so.
No, he's not. I'm thinking of somebody else. I think, but I know that I'm looking at that now.
He has a Deftones white pony tattoo because he's a big Deftones fan, apparently.
Fucking awesome! I'm a big Deftones fan too. It was Back to School was my ringtone for about 6 years.
There is a Deftones cover band playing Cork soon, I think. I just remembered.
It's fun. I like
Check that out.
Yeah, I do.
What are they called?
Sum 41 are actually going to be playing in Fairview Park this year. It'll be their last ever tour because I believe they're kind of basically effectively retiring and broken up. Probably the first CD I bought, one of the first CDs I bought. So
really?
if not the first, yeah. Sum 41 All Filler No Killer. I got that and I got a Offspring one in very close succession of each other. But I think I got the Sum 41 one first. So technically my first album, yeah.
I think mine was Korn's second album, Life is Peachy.
That was
not a good album.
Which is your first album?
First.
God, I would have thought it was Prince or something, or Stevie Wonder,
No.
or because I would have thought you were buying music way before Korn. I know Korn came out in the early or the 90s and all that kind of stuff, but you know what I mean. Like I would have thought
Yeah, No, I was listening to stuff before and I just didn't have to buy it because other people were buying it.
Yeah,
My sisters
fair.
were buying it and stuff like that. The first one I bought myself would have been... Actually, no, that wasn't the... Was the first? First one might have been... It was one of these two, I can't remember which. It might have been the Mortal Kombat soundtrack.
That's pretty cool.
Which was
No,
great soundtrack.
But
Lots
yeah.
of industrial metal on that.
Yeah, all kind of no filler. So I was definitely in secondary school, I think. Like as in like it was first year. It was definitely first year. But that was when I bought it. But yeah, and they're playing their last ever show, so I'm gonna try and get tickets to that. That'll be a bit of fun, you know. They actually have, and
who else is playing with them?
I'm not too sure, but like, you know, all joking aside and stuff, they actually have fucking some great songs.
I'm not a fan, but
Yeah.
I'm happy for you.
Yes, yeah, they actually genuinely have some good songs, even as they got older. Like, and I wouldn't have listened to them that much as I got older and stuff, you know. But they would hit you with the odd song. It's just like, oh, like they've matured in the right direction and are doing some good songs, you know. But I saw a thing the other day, and apparently whatever limited company Blink-182 had to set up for their band and their trade and all that kind of stuff, they called it Poo Poo Butt Butt Inc. or something like that, incorporated. So like all these, I can imagine all these lawyers and like corporate people going like, okay, and I'm Poo Poo Butt Butt Inc. So you're fair play to them. They were like, I don't get me wrong, like I never listened to Blink-182 growing up. I just didn't. They weren't a band like I was into it, but they must have been a nightmare, you know, like as in a good way.
Yeah, Daniel Day came.
Yes.
What were you going to say?
Yeah.
Oh, what were you going to say?
Oh
We
no!
can circle back to
Oh
that.
no! Go on! Daniel, I was going to say something else, but like, okay, go on.
Will you ever watch Lost?
No.
No. Okay. Do you remember Jane and Son? Their story in Lost.
Is that Daniel Day Kim's character?
Yeah.
And his
wife.
partner?
His character's wife. Yeah.
I feel like his character's wife was she a bigger role than him at one stage?
She initially was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then I think they realized that he looks great shirtless, and they started giving him more stories as well.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
The end of their story in the show is devastating.
Why?
So,
Spoiler alert. Came out 20 years ago.
spoilers. So when the show starts, they are, what's the word? You know, she was running away from him.
Oh, interesting.
So she is the daughter of like a kind of like Hyundai type family, as in her father owns
A large. Yeah.
car manufacturer. So she's quite wealthy. And Jane is just a fisherman's son. Mm-hmm. He's just a farmer boy from the country. But they find each other and they love each other. But then he starts to resent her because her father gives him a job. But her father's also a criminal. He's a thug. And he basically has Jane be an enforcer. And Jane has to do violent, horrible things. And he becomes distant from her, and then she starts to want to leave him. And he's like, I do these things for your father. You know, your father's made me this person. So she's planning on running away from him. And he's trying to get her back, and that's how they end up on the plane.
Ah, okay.
So by the time the plane crashes, he's found out that she's leaving him. So they don't like each other. And she's been learning English, and she's been having an affair. And he doesn't know this about her, so she's hiding the fact for episodes in season 1 that she speaks English. And when he finds out she speaks English, he's heartbroken because there's just lie and deceit and deception. And then over the next 5 seasons, they just fall in love with each other again. And they love each other. And it's great. And then they die horrifically. And it's so sad. I haven't been able to watch it since. I've watched so many other seasons of it. I'm getting teary thinking about it.
What happened to them?
Horrible. They basically drown in a sinking boat together, but like while confessing their love for each other, and it's beautiful, but it's so sad.
It's
devastating.
Yeah, it's like that moment in what's it called? Brilliant movie. I want to say it's called like Daylight with Sylvester Stallone, and there's people trapped in a tunnel underground.
Yes.
Do you know the scene I'm talking about?
I don't. I know the film, but I don't remember
There's
the scene.
like an old couple who decide like it's just better if we stay, and it's just like, oh my god, you know, it's like the old couple on the Titanic in that sense, you know. But yeah, I think it's called Daylight or something. I think it's called Daylight.
Yeah, notice.
It is.
I remember the film.
But there is a moment in it that I found heartbreaking as a child watching it. You know what I mean? Like, and it stayed with me. But and then it is like that old couple in the Titanic.
Yeah. And this is the thing in the show. At this point, I think it happens in season 5, late season 5. At this point, they've become bigger stars on the show.
Yeah.
So you can't believe you're actually. It's a bit of a like Ned in season 1 Game of Thrones kind of moment. You're like, they're not actually killing off Jin and Sun, are they? And you're like, you keep waiting for them to escape, and then you realize they're not going to. This is it. This is where they die, and it's so sad. It's amazing. It's worth, like, even though I've spoiled it now, it is worth going to watch it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
There's great stuff there. Yeah. There's great stuff.
I was gonna say, like, kind of looking at the cast of, Lost and stuff. It's kind of been a hit and a miss thing for some of them, but a lot of them kind of have gone on to do fairly decent out of it.
Yeah, I think I kind of have a theory that when people don't take off for whatever reason, it's probably because they're not nice to work with.
Yeah, I would say the same.
Seems to be the case with a lot of people.
Yeah,
not all of them. Some of them are just happy where they are. Some of them just never break quite as big as they deserve.
But I do think
others,
Evangeline
Lilly is a cunt.
Well, yeah,
she's awful.
I don't know her personally.
She's horrible. I thought she was great on the show. I was a big fan, and I've just kind of come to learn over the last couple of years that she's not nice. She's horrible. She's anti-vax and God knows what else.
Yeah, she's said some rogue things, hasn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Fox has done bits and pieces. He still I know it sounds weird. Like, he still gets a chance, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Like, people still put him in things.
He was great in Speed Racer. He's so good in Speed Racer.
He's okay in Speed Racer. What did I watch him? Oh, he's brilliant in Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a scary movie, but he's brilliant in it. Bone Tomahawk's really good, but it's real scary. I don't recommend it for everybody. It has some of the most gross graphic stuff I've seen.
Hard to watch.
Yeah, but it's great, but it's hard to watch. One of my favorite scenes, or one of my favorite, I'd say favorite scenes, but one of my favorite ones was the dialogue. It's real funny, and it's almost like blink and you miss it, but not really, but it's just like, it kind of, I just thought it was funny, resonated. But it's like, in the opening scene, it's Kurt Russell, isn't it? Or who's it? It's Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell and Matthew Fox and stuff. And they've realised that the lady has been taken by a kind of a rogue bunch of cannibals, essentially. But they go, the mayor is there with his wife, and Kurt Russell is talking to them, and we're going to get a group of men, and we're going to do this and go do that, but he's talking to the wife, and then the wife is like, okay, well, this is outrageous, and what do you expect to do? And he's like, we're going to do this, and this, and then he goes like, the wife turns around to him and is like, I don't know why you're talking to me, you should talk to the mayor, and he just turns around and goes like, just did, in the sense of like, the mayor's a small little man standing beside the wife, not reacting or talking to anything, and the wife is talking, and then it's just like, well, I don't know why you're talking to me, you should tell the mayor, and he's just like, I just did, it's very good. It's like, she's the mayor. Like, everybody knows she's the mayor. The husband is obviously just a, puppet. But it's just a good little bit. I like it. But that's a brutal movie. That's good. This week, because I've got over Christmas, I was gifted a bunch of old. Well, no, I was gifted a bunch of graphic novels or collections of some kind of more iconic X-Men stories and stuff. So I've been kind of reading them, but watching all the old X-Men movies. But we're watching them in kind of a chronological order of First Class first, then it's Days of Future Past, then it was like the Wolverine. So we're on to Apocalypse, and then what I mean. Like, we're watching it like in a kind of different order, and which is good. It's fine. First Class is fun. It's kind of, what it is? It's just sometimes people think they're making a comic book movie, and it's just kind of like, it's like they have a perception of what that is or what a comic book is. And it's just like, although you do have wacky, weird, bigger than life characters, they're not necessarily like that in the books. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like sometimes it's like people. It's like if someone was like, okay, we're going to make a cartoon for kids, and they make it just like wacky, you know. And it's just like this. Although this is a comic book movie, you don't have to go like wacky with it. And sometimes it's a little bit wacky, you know. It's a little bit silly in parts. Like even
that's true of the Kick-Ass films as well, which had same director and same screenwriter.
100%. Yeah, I think you're right. Yes.
Yeah. Same as sure. Kingsman, you know.
Yeah. I think you're that kind of 100%. Yeah. And you know what though? I kind of with the Kingsman, I'm kind of okay because that's meant to be over the top James Bond.
Well, that's the thing, guys. Like, I think they worked quite close with Mark Miller on those things.
Yeah.
On Kick-Ass and Kingsman and was it Jane Goldsmith? Jonathan Ross's wife. She's the
yeah. Sorry, yeah, she's
and again same writer on Stardust as well, the Neil Gaiman,
which is great.
Vaughn also directed,
which is brilliant. It's good fun.
But it's got that kind of sensibility, which doesn't really work as well with the X-Men.
Yeah, and
it's fun.
It's fun. And like, dude, there's some things in it. Like, okay, put it this way: like Zoe Kravitz's character, Angel. You know, like I kind of, for me, and like this is nothing to do with my profession, you know, nothing to do with my profession, but I always think it's kind of lame where like she's a mutant, but she has these like tattooed wings on her body that kind of like turn into actual wings. Yeah. And it's like, that's a little bit too...
There's a lot of powers in X-Men like that are just kind of lame.
Well, yeah, because I think they were created with the wrong idea of what the mutant gene kind of can be.
Exactly, yeah.
To.
You know somebody like, thought about... People just... It's the character you create for yourself when you imagine, what would I be if I was a mutant? Those are the things you imagine. It's like, I'd have tattoos that like turn into like...
Yes,
wings.
Exactly.
And I think... could fly and I'd have super strength as well. And I'd also have this and this, you know? It's
exactly. But this is it. Like, and I think kind of like where like your comic book reader or, and like, you know, creative person, whoever, like, you know, in these things or whatever. But it's like kind of, some people understand that like it doesn't work like that, and they have their imagination has grown and has changed and has kind of like, you know, exceeded that. But some people they go through life and stuff, and their imagination only grows so much, and that's as far as it can go. You know, or there's this character called Angel. Let's make her a stripper, give her tattoos, make it this and that, and it's just like, oh, not a stripper. She's like a dancer.
She's a stripper.
She's a stripper. I think she is. Yeah, I'm not too sure, but
it's just a kids movie, so they couldn't show boobies.
But I just...
They tried to show us boobies as much as they can because Rose, what's-her-face, is in her underwear for absolutely no reason.
I know. I thought that as well. Yeah, I thought that was like...
It's like, the film needs more sex, but it's got to be rated 12, so we can't have full boob in it. Yeah. But let's get people in their underwear as much as possible.
Yeah. And then I was just like... I was even watching it with Emer, and I was just like, kind of, well... That's incredibly dangerous. She's not only is she like run into a scenario that she's like, you know, incredibly vulnerable. She has brought no communication or like protection, and even if she does take something from there, where's she going to hide it? You know,
in her purse.
She's a petite woman. Well, maybe, you know, people are deceptive on the inside, but it's like First Class. Oh, like it's like Darwin. You know, what's your power? The ability to adapt and to anything.
People hate that so much, and rightly so.
And then they kill them instantly. Adapt to this, and it's just like, so his power is just useless then.
Yeah.
We never saw Banshee again, which is a pity. Because I liked how they utilized some of Banshee powers and stuff like that. Like, you know, I think there were swings and near misses. Do you know that kind of way with this movie? Yeah. But and like some of the stuff they kind of do with like
I would still say it's better than X-Men 1 and 2. I still prefer it, you know. I don't think those films have aged as well.
So okay, well, this is my point. So I was going to say First Class is fine. It's a fine movie. Just a bit of one of the kind of, I would say, a little bit sillier in parts, you know. Yeah. But some of it looks cool.
But intentionally so.
Some of it looks great.
It was trying to be like that 60s wacky kind of thing.
Oh, say that again, right?
Yeah.
Just you were breaking up with me there. Just say that again.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I was saying it was intentionally kind of wackier and sillier.
Yes.
It was going for a 60s kind of vibe.
Yeah, which is fine. But like I said, First Class is a decent movie. It's enjoyable, right? Days of Future Past. That's based on just 2 issues. I think issue 141 and issue 142 of Uncanny X-Men or something. And I've read basically I've nearly read the 2 issues now because I was just reading them yesterday after watching the movie. Fun adaptation to what they did in the comics, and how they elaborated on more and all that kind of stuff. I like it a lot. They obviously change things in the comics. It's Kitty who goes back, and it's Rachel Summers who sends her back there and all that kind of stuff. Where in the movie it's Wolverine and things like that. But then we watched the Wolverine or X-Men Wolverine Origins. X-Men Wolverine Origins. That was it. And that's good half of the way, and then it shits the bed. I think Days of Future Past is fun. I do like Days of Future Past, but
I liked it in the cinema, and then I watched it like a year later, and it just on repeat viewings, it's not as engaging.
Yeah, fair. There's things I like and don't like about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For sure, but having read the original comic book and stuff like that, like there's actually things that kind of like, all right, shit, okay, it's like fair, like that's fairly true to the stories and all that. Like, they did some good things. Obviously, they had to elaborate a lot, but what was I gonna say? But no, Days of Future Past, yeah, like kind of, I enjoyed it. Some parts I feel are really clunky. Like the sets for the future world and some of the future world building and stuff isn't great, isn't strong.
It's like 2 different films.
Yeah,
in terms of who production designed it.
100%. Yeah,
it's like 2 different people kind of worked on the film.
The stuff in the 60s.
Like how did we get from this to this?
Yeah, because it's based in the 60s, isn't it? Or no, is that the 70s? That's the 70s. That's 70s.
Yeah.
Because it's after Vietnam War. Because you see, sorry. But all the stuff in the past is great. Like, looks great. The characters and all that kind of stuff looks cool.
Yeah.
But kind of the future stuff I think is really weak, and getting poor Halle Berry back for that stuff as well. She was better than that. But
they lied to her.
Yeah, they did. For one of the movies they did. I think might have been X-Men 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
Someone lied to her.
It might have been 3 actually, yeah.
X-Men to that stand. Yeah, I think they gave her they gave her
They told her she's gonna have this whole kind of plot arc.
Yeah, it was basically
it was fake script.
Yeah.
With this whole Storm storyline.
Yeah.
That they might have even filmed, but just had no intention of putting in the film. It's just to get her back. Which is crazy.
Yeah, awful. And then literally someone like had flagged it and said, no, don't ignore that. That's just Halle Berry's script. It's like, that's so mean. But so then Wolverine Origins, like half of the movie is decent and then it's awful. It's kind of okay up to the point where they introduce, and like it's nothing to do with the character, it's just stupid when they introduce Cyclops. Did you forget Cyclops was in that movie? Yeah,
I didn't, but yeah.
Okay, yeah,
it's silly.
Yeah,
it's insisted on tying it to the rest of the X-Men film.
It's so rubbish, man.
Especially to make Wolverine the almost like founder then of it. It's just like,
I know.
Just inserting Wolverine in every story.
I know, yeah. But like it's like I don't understand the end of Future Past. Maybe I'm wrong, but like it's in the 70s, so. Wolverine gets launched out into the air and he falls into the water and he sinks to the bottom, or because he's all twisted and metal, he sinks to the bottom. At the end of the movie, Stryker is seen taking him out of the water, but it's actually Mystique.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if you were to watch Wolverine Origins after that, and Wolverine goes through all these things in the 60s and the 70s and all that kind of stuff, it's like, why, like they had a chance to wrap it up or connect it in some way.
Yeah, at some point, Stryker would have to be Stryker and not Mystique.
Yeah.
So at some point, Mystique just walks away from that situation. So just why have it be Mystique at all?
Yeah, and exactly. It should have just been Stryker.
It's just to give her something. It's just to show us where she is at the end of the film, and that's the best they kind of came up with.
Yeah, but like it's kind of silly though, because then it's just kind of like at what point then does Wolverine get mixed up? I suppose if they find a real Stryker post credit as well,
Yeah.
So kind of it doesn't I suppose like
it's just messy.
It's a little bit messy because it was a nothing moment. They would have been better off just kind of having Wolverine being taken out of it, and that's how they got him for Weapon X. and just
Yeah.
leave it at that. You know what I mean? Like, but then they're trying to connect these things and wrap them up. But so the next, like I said, next one will be Age of Apocalypse, which I'm looking forward to it, and maybe not. But we'll see. I've watched the majority of these movies once, with the exception of X-Men, the first movie, which I've probably watched about 200 times.
I think the big difference between the Wolverine and Logan is that they tried to make the Wolverine an X-Men film, whereas if they had just let it be Logan in Japan,
Yeah.
it could have been as good as, probably better than Logan.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
If it had just been just allow it be this little separate side story about
I
his time in Japan.
I still think it's mad that we're nearly coming up to 20 years of Marvel stuff. When I say we're like 4 years off, you know what I mean? But it's like, and then we're talking about this stuff now, and it's just like we're talking about like 3 Wolverine movies, solo movies, and it's just like it still kind of blows my mind that we have these.
Yeah.
Like, I'd never thought as a comic book fan growing up that we'd ever have this type of.
I remember reading the mail section, as in the letter section.
Yeah.
In the comics, and every issue was somebody asking, when are we going to get a film? And every issue the reply was, it's coming, don't worry, it's coming.
Yeah.
And I believed it for
yeah,
so long,
yeah.
like from
1994.
10 years old to, until we eventually got it. And like, I didn't believe it until, even when I saw the trailer, I still didn't believe it was kind of happening.
I remember the X-Men hype was great, man. It was a great time. And I remember we were talking about this recently, but we were saying like, the X-Men hype was real. And I can see it coming back a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. But it's like, I hope it does. Like I said, I'm kind of on
the cartoon will play a big part in that, because they'll need to get new fans with the cartoon.
When's that coming out?
Interesting to see. Sometime this year.
Yeah.
Sometime soon.
But I remember, I was talking to this about somebody the other day, and nobody had a clue what I was talking about. But I'm pretty sure. Pardon, Brian?
I think there's a delay. I think when I said that, it was like 10 seconds ago.
Oh, sorry.
So keep going.
QVC Whole Shopping Channel. That was a real QVC. That was what it was called, right? Was it called QVC? Yeah.
Yep.
I remember being on holiday in Wicklow, and the QVC was on, and they were just showing like all the like range of X-Men toys that are coming out, and just X-Men paraphernalia and X-Men stuff. And I just stayed up very late watching it because it was I don't have those channels. We weren't exposed to that kind of stuff. But it was basically like more X-Men on TV. I can watch this. The movie hadn't been out yet, but it was just like I was just trying to watch as much of it as I could, and watching QVC just to see toys like. Brilliant.
Just to get your X-Men.
Yeah. On holiday where I could have been doing many, many things, but I got sunburned in that holiday actually. But I was very, very young. But it was Jesus, it was 1999, 2000. But so that's it. Watching them. Next one's Age of Apocalypse. Let's see how we get on. Speaking of the 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Experiment in Terror.
Experiment in Terror.
You picked it.
I did.
Fire away. What would you like to? How would you like to? Preference it.
I mean, the main reason for suggesting it was that I had just heard the theme.
Yes.
And thought the theme was amazing.
The theme is very good.
Looked up the film. Yeah. And then was kind of surprised that the film had a pretty positive reception because I hadn't heard of it.
No, never heard of it. And it had a huge score.
Yeah. And like especially in college, I watched like a lot of film noir stuff. I watched a lot of click stuff.
Yeah.
I would just go to the library and take out films and watch them.
I watched it.
So I was surprised. I went through a period of watching this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I definitely did as well.
I don't think I'd heard of it.
No.
It did have a different name in the UK.
It did.
It was originally released as Grip of
Terror. Grip of Terror, yeah.
Which sounds more familiar, but I still...
No.
I hadn't seen it.
I have no recollection of it, yeah. No, I was just going to say, like, when my first year of college, I had an exhibition close to me, and for something like €5, you could rent something like 5 movies, but they would have been, like, World Cinema and stuff, like, older than, like, 1985, So it was just a great way for me, because I had no TV or anything like that at all. So it was just a great way of me of getting stuff. So I would have watched a lot of old stuff. Tons. But I never heard of this one. And I think we even studied like double indemnity and stuff like that in script writing class or film class and all that kind of stuff. So like, yeah, I never heard of this one. And apparently, like, it really influenced David Lynch and stuff. Like, David Lynch loves this movie.
Yeah, you can see it for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, there's lots of stuff he's taken
from the place. But even the place that she's living is Twin Peaks.
Yeah, okay. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Like as soon the film starts and it's her driving over the bridge and she pulls up to her home and she passes a sign and the sign says Twin Peaks. I was like, what?
No way.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Like apparently, like he's taking even the line where Red, the murderer of the story, says like I've killed 2 people already. You know, he's used that line in it. He's taken scenes from it. Yeah. He's really
that line
really
is that line is in Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
So much about it is really there's just him on the phone is quite similar to stuff in Lost Highway because there's a guy in Lost Highway kind of leaving these messages on the phone and stuff, and it's very familiar. I thought this was fantastic.
So
great film.
So I will just tell you, and like basically, right, good movie. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but the opening scenes, the opening bit of the movie, is really fucking good. That's probably the best part of the movie.
I think the film is lacking something in the middle or at the end that matches that.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I think, and that is to do, I think, with the way films are made today compared to
back in the day,
back then.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, we watch that now and we expect something else.
Yeah.
In the middle.
Yeah, like
because that's how they write them today. Is like they know it needs 3 things and then scenes that piece those 3 things together.
So
and it's missing that. But that opening scene is great.
It is great, and I was going to say like so basically like, and it's just coincidence and I guess that we're talking about it, but like. So I think like things I liked about the movie for sure. The opening scene was brilliant. The acting in it is really good. Like the acting in it is very good. All the characters in it, like everything's brilliant. But I was going to say,
trying to give a quick plot synopsis for anybody listening.
Plot synopsis: there's a young bank worker called Kate Sherwood. I believe her name is
Kelly
Sherwood. Sorry, Kelly Sherwood.
Definitely Sherwood.
Yes, and she has a sister. The sister's called Toby, is it?
Toby,
a 16-year-old sister. But basically, Kelly's on her way home. Kelly pulls into her driveway next to her house or into her garage, and a guy kind of basically just attacks her from behind and just tells her that like he wants X amount of money, or else he's gonna kill her sister. And he just kind of is constantly watching her, tormenting her, calling her, stuff like that, right? And then Kelly, she's told not to go to the police, but Kelly does go to the police. And the police get involved instantly. And then it's just like trying to get to the killer. They're trying to, Kelly obviously struggling with like, should she pay him? How does she get the money? All this kind of stuff. But then it's just basically, it's basically a killer attacks a woman, telling her he's going to be making her rob a bank, and the police get involved. And then it gets very procedural after that. Would you say that's about a good synopsis of it?
Yeah.
If only the FBI and the police were that good. They're on it.
That's one of the things is like they're on it.
They're on
from the start.
Yeah.
And
it's like, what happened to you? That's terrible. Let's get to the bottom of this immediately.
Yeah.
It's great.
In other films there'd be a point like something in Seven where he gets the drop on Brad Pitt, when they kind of like there'd be a turn in it. Like, this doesn't have that. It's just they're on the case and they're on it. And, and they get it.
But and this is a silly thing to say, but actually one of my favorite things about the movie is it gives you just a great insight into just 1960 America. It's because like I watched a super beautiful copy of this. Google it or it's on YouTube. Just Google it or search it on YouTube. You'll get a really good high quality. It's 2 hours long, but you get a good quality version of it. It's great. But it's like it just gives you. And then watching First Class, which is set in the 60s. It was fun. It was fun to kind of see like
the part where he phones her sister to trick her to abduct her, and they're in the
diner. I was thinking about this as well.
And it's fucking jumping.
Yeah, because they wouldn't have had bars and clubs like in the same culture or but they're in a diner and it's
daytime.
Yeah.
It's bright daylight.
They're all just drinking milkshakes and Coke.
The place it's the liveliest, most fun place I've ever seen.
But like I've seen diners like that represented in other movies. I'm pretty sure there's a scene in Fast. Now I know it's Back to the Future, but I just remember something Back to the Future. But it's like those diners were certainly a hangout point where kids would go and socialize at school and stuff. but it is hopping. It is hopping. And she's...
Yeah.
I'd say this movie was a little bit controversial for the 60s.
Like a lot of noir stuff, and this would be kind of neo-noir, was very pushing kind of boundaries.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of very provocative cinema
Because
for the time, you know?
even like, you know, the character, like assuming the kind of the disguise of an old woman and all that kind of stuff, making the 16-year-old character.
That shot is great when he shows up.
It's so good. And
You can't see his full face.
Yeah, it's
just the shadow under his
good.
eyes.
Yeah. It's
Really good.
Some really, really nice
fantastic.
stuff in this, and it is a fun movie. But even making the 16-year-old quote unquote strip, you know what I mean? Like he makes her remove her clothes and all that kind of stuff. And I remember like kind of like when was Psycho?
It would have been around the same time.
But like I remember
That's
it
this.
being controversial that there was a flushing toilet in Psycho, allegedly. You know? And it's just like this is a man who was
Psycho would have been a couple of years before this, I think.
yeah, this was
Not much,
1962, I think. But Psycho could have been like, I don't know, 67 or 57, sorry. But you know what I mean though? Like I can imagine aspects of this movie. 1960 of Psycho. Only 2 years prior, but look, a lot of change. A lot was changing at the time in terms of socially and stuff.
Yeah.
But and it was happening fast. But the 60s is a fascinating time actually, and like watching First Class and watching what they call it, this movie was just like fucking like cool. And so it's like, you know, I'd like to maybe consume more media from that time, but comics in the 60s was dog shit. They were dog shit. They were like, it's like trying to get through some of those issues, man.
I can't hear someone say dog shit without hearing the I think you should leave sketch.
No, what is that one?
So it's the one where he crashes the hot dog car into the clothes shop and he's dressed as the hot dog. And everybody's like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, we're all looking for the guy who did this. And they're all like, it's a hot dog car. It's clearly you. And he keeps denying it. But then the police show up and they're like, yeah, let's arrest this guy. But he's kind of walking around. It looks like he's kind of got people on his side. And then the cops just kind of quickly say, okay, let's arrest him. And he goes, yeah, right, you piece of dog shit. You're fucking dog shit. But the way he says dog shit seared into my brain. And now I can't hear the word dog shit
Excellent.
without hearing him say it.
Speaking of that, I was listening to the podcast on Spotify, and it obviously just kind of autoplayed an episode of the end of stream, and but I had cut into whatever point.
I gotta get back to that. I'll come back to that, but go on.
But it's like
I have a point to make about that.
it's what I was gonna say is I was listening to, you were talking about the Dharma dog door. So
The Darmine doggy door.
So I was like, what is this? Because you had just said it, and I was like, I'm not gonna listen to the rest of it. I'm gonna go off. I'm gonna watch it. I was on the bus. on the way to work. Oh my god, that was very, very funny, very funny. And I wish I wasn't watching the bus because I was just getting so fucking sore from laughing. Oh my god. If people don't know it, let's not go into it because we did go into it before, but people don't know it.
Yeah.
What's it called, Brian? The Dharma?
Darmine doggy
door. It's fucking ferocious. It's very funny. Go watch it. But yeah.
Oh, that like I was in tears watching that episode, and then it popped up on, I don't know, it was like Reddit or something just a couple of months ago, and I watched it again. I was making dinner or something, and I was just crying, and I put it on while I was like doing stuff. I was just watching it, like going back and forth in the kitchen, and I was just crying, laughing at it. It's
so good.
There's too many points in it that are just
so my god,
and funny,
and
he must have flipped my wife 9 times. And it really bothered me.
Those things, the production behind some of those skits are far too elaborate, but it's hilarious. But he was on a TV show years ago that I watched about two brothers in Chicago. That kind of
Detroiters.
Very good, man. Very, very good.
Fantastic
so
show.
good, so good. Jason Sudeikis is in it. It's very, very funny. I watched, speaking, because it just popped in my head, it was said Back to the Future. I watched, what's Doc Brown's name in real life?
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd's great.
He's fantastic.
He is fantastic. Very successful off and on camera. But I was watching a movie, you might know it, called Self-Reliant or Self-Reliance. And it's oh my god, I can't.
Not ringing any bells.
It came out in 2023. It stars sorry folks. Self-Reliance is a 2023 movie starring Anna Kendrick, Jake Johnson, Andy Samberg. The cast is savage in this, like it's really, really good. There's loads of people you'd recognize in it. Eric Edelstein is in it. Anna Kendrick, like I said. But anyways, there's a huge cast, lots of funny people. It's very, very good. Given the opportunity to participate in a life or death reality game show, one man discovers there's a lot to live for. Basically, the guy from New Girl, what's his name? Jake
Johnson.
Jake Johnson. He's living a shit life. He has a pretty awful life. He broke up his girlfriend. He's living in a basement. He just has, he's not having a good time, and he's walking on the road, and Andy Samberg pulls up in a limousine, and it's just like, hey, and he's like, wow, wait, Andy Samberg, I love your stuff. And he's like, yeah, cool. And he's like, hey, you want to get in a limousine? And he's just like, okay. And he gets a limousine, Andy Samberg's there, and he's like reading something out, and he's like, this is, Jake. Jake is X years old. He has blah, blah, blah. His life is this. And Jake's just like, what the fuck? And Andy Samberg's like, hey, hang on, I just have to do this. Just give me a second, and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, what the hell? And Andy Samberg's just like, look, you're going to have this opportunity. You can do this thing. Do you want to go forward with it? And he's just like, yeah, for sure. And Andy Samberg's like, what? Why? This is terrible. Drives the limousine to this place. Andy Samberg drops him off, and then the guy walks in this room, and there's two weird guys sitting at the table, and they're basically like, you've been nominated, you've been selected to be on a dark web reality show where people are going to try and kill you for the next 30 days. If you survive, you get $1 million. If you don't, you die. Do you wish to play? And he's just like, kind of like, oh, what are the rules? And he's like, basically like, kind of the killers can only kill him if he's alone. And he's like, so I can just, for the next 30 days, I can just spend all my time with somebody. And like, you can't kill me. And they're like, well, like, yeah, like, kind of. And he's like, so there's a loophole. And they're like, well, like, yeah, kind of. And he's like, okay, I'm going to do it, So obviously he goes back to his family, and he's just like, I was walking on the road, this limousine pulled over, and it's Andy Samberg, and his family are just like, you're crazy. You're having a mental breakdown. What's going on, So everything that they do, like, because it's the dark web, and obviously everybody's watching this, He finds these little kind of cameras around the place, everybody's watching it. And but it's just him trying to survive the next 30 days. And trying to get his friends and family involved who don't want anything to do with him. He hires a homeless person at one stage to stay by him at all times. Like he has to have someone beside him at all times, It's really funny. It's really good crack. I really, really recommend it.
Where'd you watch it?
Hulu. I think it was.
Okay.
I rented it. Saw it in the cinema.
Perfect. Saw it in the cinema.
Do you want to ask me that question again?
We'll just cut that.
Yeah, cut that. Yeah. I set up my dodgy box yesterday, so.
I see.
But Brian, it's good fun. It only has like a 6 out of 10 or whatever, 9, but who cares about that shit? Self-Reliance. I'm not going to say too much, but it's fun because it's kind of, they obviously purposely do stuff too. So if he's ever going back to explain to somebody, he sounds like a crazy person, It's very, very funny. I don't want to say too much because it's very, very good. The stuff that happens in it, it's hilarious. Watch it. It's definitely recommended.
I'll check it out.
So yeah,
one of my least favorite things that's happened to me in the last couple of months is when I can't sleep, which is every night.
Yeah, which is awful.
I put on some podcasts, and it'll be something like Conan or Seth Meyers or a New York Times documentary podcast or something.
Yep.
And I'll try fall asleep to that. I usually don't. Even if I do fall asleep, I'm usually awake like 30 minutes later. So it's this constant loop of like sleeping and waking. It's not until about 6 a.m. that I'm properly falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'll wake up. And this is one of my least favorite things. I'll wake up and the podcasts I've been listening to are finished. And now it's playing Us.
Oh, yes. It does get you.
And I'm half awake, half asleep. And I hear Us talking. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, it gets you.
Yeah. It's like, why did you play Us? Nobody hear me in the morning in my dreams.
Yeah.
unsettling.
It is. It is.
Talk about your experiments in terror.
Yes, absolutely.
That's one.
Absolutely. Interesting actually thing about Experiment in Terror. I don't know if you noticed, at the very end, you see, whatever the guy's name was, Red Lynch, played by Rick Martin or whatever his name is, But it's like they
Ross
purposely
Martin, yeah.
avoided putting him in the cast. Sorry, Ross Martin. They purposely avoided putting him in the cast at the start because they wanted to kind of like, keep you guessing who the killer was or whatever, And also interesting that they tried to kind of give you... actually, yeah, let me know what you think of this. It's kind of interesting that they kind of tried to make him also, like, not, like, completely evil, paying for, like, children, a child's, like, medical bills and all that kind of stuff. Interesting movie. Interesting bits.
Is it because he's
the only thing I will
asthmatic
say-
and he's sympathetic towards kids with health conditions?
Oh, yeah, health conditions, yeah, maybe,
that
for
be
sure, that makes sense. But it's
of
also
his
interesting...
asthma.
His asthma. It's also interesting that... well, actually, no, one other thing I said about it. The movie's about 2 hours long. The movie's probably 2 hours long because if there's a scene in the movie and they're like, let's go to Kelly's house and make sure she's okay, they show the lads leaving the police office, getting into their car, driving to Kelly's house, getting out of the car, knocking on the door in Kelly's house, and it's just like, chill, guys. You don't have to show us everything. We can put some things together. It's a lot like that.
Yeah, but I like that to an extent as well because it just lets the film breathe. as
Yeah,
well.
fair.
It does create a tone. I could see David Lynch doing that type of thing in his films.
Yeah.
He takes his time with
Well, with
takes and length of things, and it does lend the film a certain quality. I think when you're like, we're going to do this, and we're just going to show you us
Everything.
doing it,
Yeah.
and we're just going to take our time. There's no rush.
Show,
We don't have to rush to the next scene.
showing the guy.
It's a perfectly good scene here. We can everybody sit back, relax, and watch this scene.
It was a little bit far though when they just showed the guy eating a sandwich and then going to the bathroom and pooping for 20 minutes.
That was so weird. Especially when it was 20 minutes.
20
that
minutes.
guy needs more
Yeah.
fiber.
He needs more fiber. But I don't know what the diet was like in the
More
60s.
fiber,
Who
yeah.
knows? But it's funny.
Not a lot of fiber.
It's kind of funny the way we're saying like, oh, David Lynch was obviously influenced a bit of this thing. But at the end of the time, like, David Lynch was probably like, whoa, like in his...
He
Like this was a cinema he was being influenced by and growing up and watching it, being like, I want to make films. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, yeah, fucking not surprised really that this is what kind of influenced him, because it's super David Lynchy. Oh, also, like it's the scenes and stuff with this are beautiful because I was watching it and being like, yep, I'm gonna screen grab that, make that into a tattoo flash, screen grab that, make that into a tattoo flash. It's just there's great stuff in it. Just cool, dark. Like, see, I like that black and white noir stuff. It works for my style as well in terms of the aesthetic.
Yep.
There's just some cool shit in it. Really, really cool shit. Did you watch anything else?
I watched Red Rocket.
Okay, I've not watched it. I know of it.
Newly on Netflix. It came out in 2021.
Yes.
So it's coming up on 3 years now.
Is it good fun?
But it was only. Is it good? Yes. Is it fun? No.
Oh, because I thought so. I put it this way: I watched.
Did you see the trailer for it?
Yes, and it makes it look a little bit more comedic.
It makes it look so much more comedic.
Yeah.
That's not to say it's not.
Uh-huh.
But I remember I only watched the trailer once, and I watched it like 3 years ago or whenever it was.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the trailer when this kind of came out on Netflix because it was already kind of in my mind as something I'd wanted to watch. The guy has a sort of a earnest energy, by which I mean Jim Varney.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He looks kind of like Ernest from the
Oh,
Ernest
okay, cool.
Goes to
Yeah.
whatever.
I was like, Ernest.
So
yes. Yeah.
I was expecting a bit of that kind of quirky, offbeat kind of thing. Not really, but he's likable
Yeah.
for about 30 minutes. And then after that, it's like, he's a piece of shit.
Simon Rex is the guy's name. He's in
Simon Rex.
He's in a lot of things. In fairness,
Is he?
Yeah, I would.
I thought he looked very familiar, but I couldn't. He looks like so many different people. I couldn't really place him. Apparently, he used to be a VJ on MTV, but I don't remember him.
Okay, so I would have. Basically, he was in like scary movies, another teen movie, superhero movie.
Right.
You know, he was basically like he was in all those type of rip-offy things.
It is good. It's just it isn't that it's even darker. It's just there's a quote somewhere from the director, and I don't know if it was for this film or if it was just about his films in general, but he was kind of talking about wanting to humanize and normalize sex workers a bit more, right? Kind of paint them less as victims or pariahs and just kind of legitimize them, which is cool. But then this guy, I don't think it's spoiling too much. He's basically grooming a 17-year-old girl, and it's like if one of the purposes of your films is to humanize and legitimize sex workers, are you not undoing it with a character like this who is, he just kind of becomes infatuated with a 17-year-old, and he's a washed up porn star, and he sees her as his way back into the industry, and he kind of grooms her to that end. It's very icky while watching it.
Yeah, well, you know what? I passed.
No, I haven't really spoiled anything there.
Yeah, no, well, look, I'm not really good at watching, to be honest, but yeah.
You should watch it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, do watch it. Like, there is definitely funny moments in it, but it's just, if it hadn't been such a bait and switch from the trailer to the film, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But while watching it, I had this kind of sense of, is this going to take a really dark turn, or is it just been missold?
Yeah.
If I'd known what to expect from the start, I would have been less uncomfortable in terms of, is this going to take a really dark turn? I would have been more kind of prepared for it. But there was such a tone shift for me, then it added a layer of suspense to the film that the film doesn't really need.
Yeah.
Like there's, I was watching the Bear season 2 recently, right? Have you seen all of season 2?
Yes, sorry.
So we've got the 7 Fishes episode, which is the Christmas dinner. It's fucking super tense.
Yeah.
And then the episode after that is the Forks one with Richie. And it's just this really uplifting, wholesome episode.
Okay.
But watching that immediately after the Christmas dinner episode, you keep expecting something to go wrong. But it's necessary for that episode because they kind of set up so much in the episodes before that Richie is a loser and he's a fuck up and he can never get anything right. So when you have this kind of expectation that he might mess this up, it adds to it, because when it starts going right for him, it's such a relief. Whereas if you knew from the start that it's just going to be this pleasant thing, it just wouldn't be as memorable.
Yeah.
It's memorable because there's that tension beforehand.
Yeah.
Whereas watching this film, having that kind of tension in it, wondering, is it going to get... When I started to realize that the guy's not likable, that he's a piece of shit, I was like, is this going to get even darker? Like, how dark will it get? And that made me really uneasy. Whereas if I just knew from the off that he's just...
Yeah.
he's a bit of a scumbag and it's kind of quirky, then I would have been a little more comfortable watching it.
Basically, I was watching something recently. When I say recently, I must ask Emer. It was very recently, like in the last week or so. And had the exact same feelings. Basically like, oh, right, everybody in this is kind of horrible. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I thought, you come into it like exactly what you're saying, like liking the guy or finding the person endearing or whatever. It's just like, oh, no. None of them are good. What was that on? I can't remember. Anyways.
And that's the thing, like this guy has... his character is likable. He's got this kind of energy to him, and he kind of pops on screen.
Yeah.
So you are inclined to, especially because he's the protagonist, we're just inclined to like him. And then just the more he talks, the more he reveals about him. And I guess that's deliberate, maybe. It has to be. The more he talks and reveals about himself, the more unlikable he comes. But then you kind of start rooting against him. And then when you see him, he's dating a 17-year-old, and it's like, okay, and that's uncomfortable. And like, if the point is to be uncomfortable, that's okay. But it's just, it doesn't really judge him either way. So effectively, you're kind of watching him groom someone. And like I said, she's his ticket back to
which is
this world he's been kicked out of. So normally you would root for somebody because you want them to kind of succeed and win back. It's just like, well, not at the expense of
child's life or
her, especially when she is, especially when she's uncomfortable and he coerces her. He kind of talks her, like she expresses initially like why she's uncomfortable with this, and he kind of coerces her. And it's like, if the point is to show us how women are exploited in that industry, great, that's cool, but Just when it's presented as a more offbeat comedy than it actually is, it made it hard for me to stick with it. I kind of wanted to skip to the end to find out, which like if the film is a suspense film,
That's good. That's good.
that's good. But when it's not, it's just like.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But it is a good film.
Yeah.
It is good. I would recommend it. Just know that going.
Yeah,
in.
stick with it.
And if that grosses you out, then give it a miss.
Yeah, well,
I guess.
yeah, but it might. But yeah. Any plans for the rest of the weekend? Any viewings? Anything you have going on? No. I'm gonna go to the cinema and watch The Marvels, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman 2.
Are you?
Yeah. Just.
Did you watch the Monkey Man trailer?
I didn't, but I just saw it last night. I don't know anything about it.
I knew nothing about it. It's from a story by Dev Patel. It's produced by Jordan Peele, and it's directed by Dev Patel and starring Dev Patel. And it's a sort of this Indian vigilante kind of thing. Looks a bit John Wicky.
Okay.
It's interesting. It's interesting that I didn't know Dev Patel had an interest in making this kind of stuff. It's kind of cool.
Well,
I think in my text I said this is how they should make a Daredevil film.
oh wow. Okay.
Or show.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Looks cool. I'll be giving it a look.
And is that coming to cinemas? Yeah.
Cinema, I think. Yeah.
Cinema. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Universal Pictures.
Well, look, the all the artwork and the stuff for it looks class. So I will check it out. Okay. From me, Aidan O'Sullivan.
From me, Kevin McNamara.
Brian couldn't make it this week. Typical.
Yeah.
Stupid, sexy Brian.
Stupid Brian.